Hello, my name is Francis Fox. How are you doing? Um, as usual, some complications with the chat. They posted it twice on you. Not important. Things are going very well. I'm not going to complain about menial, tedious things. Here we are again. This is Francis Fox, News from Other Dimensions. It's a chat. Sometimes we put it into a podcast when we can manage to keep on staff the people that can do that. It's not easy when you have so many people doing black magic to ensure that I don't reach the public. And next, let's go to the map because it's really interesting. As you know, I do a map of the United States every time, and I don't know, I guess I got addicted to it. The map yesterday looked fantastic, but let's look at the map yesterday and maybe we'll understand the map today more. Um, this is the map from yesterday, and it says multiple layers of protection. Why? I don't have that answer. The center is good, pink, uh, rotating in the direction of healing and grounding, which is in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. It says that if you're grounded, evil can't come in. This is really good, but why all that protection? When I do the maps, I don't think about what I did yesterday, the day before, what's going on in the news, which I see in X. I don't think of any. I just grab the pencils, the colored pencils. I got some new ones. That's my happiness for the day. So here's today, about an hour ago. Tremendous grounding. This is good. The pyramids, the Mayan pyramids, raising up again, grounding, ready for war. Oh, I don't like that. And then at the top, it says Antarctica is boiling over, fights, multi-dimensional fights. Now, you know that lately there's been a lot about Antarctica, and whenever, a lot of different things are said, and the only conclusion is that obviously something's hiding there that we're not supposed to know about, or at least until this point. But right now, whatever's hiding there is boiling over. And I'm wondering about the whole, this is just my thought, Trump with the whole thing of making Canada the 51st state. Certainly, if I was in a position I wanted to keep myself safe, I would want everything around me to be kind of well positioned, protected, whatever. And Canada appears to be a bit of a mess. And I'm not taking it from Trump's opinions and conclusions. It came up on a couple of the maps that we did. Something's going on in Antarctica. Multi-dimensional fight means aliens, ETs. Remember in the United States, when a lot of the maps, we would see ET invasions coming in through the northeast of the United States. Obviously, something big is going to happen, and it's going to be not within the paradigm of many people, which is going to create part of the mess that the Mayans talked about that would happen in end times, and people just simply won't know what to do with the information, which is why I'm here to try to give some extra information. I also have to walk a tightrope. I know more than I'm allowed to share. And I also know that there's such a gap between what people that know about these things behind the scenes, the aliens, the ETs, the galaxies, the negotiation, whatever, there's such a big gap between those that know that stuff and the regular public that it's almost impossible to communicate with the public without people saying that you're crazy, which is what happened to me. And I never even got into the issues of the aliens. If I had done that, I think they really would have put me away. My family would have put me away. What are you talking about? Wasn't it enough all that other stuff you said? Well, that's how come I didn't say a lot of things. But that's why also the government doesn't say a lot of things because the public's not ready. Whose fault is that? Let's argue about that later. Right now, let's try to pull ourselves together. Give me a second because I think that there's some issues, and there are. Give me a second. Nope, not there. If it's not one thing, it's another. No. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get this fixed now, so we're just going to let it go. Today's Wednesday, so at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I always do a session called Ask Francis in Spanish. And in the last several weeks, the end of the session is always really, 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 really interesting. I get information for the collective, for the whole planet, whatever. Today, because I was introducing to a lot of the people the new music video, the Mantrista music video, which is for protection and purification of parasites and spirits, and it's right here in the chat. It's in both my English and Spanish YouTube. It's 10 hours long. For a reason, you're supposed to sleep with it or have it on all day long. So what I did in the chat at 2 was I said, at the end, I said, I'm going to go ahead and watch all of you as you're listening to this music therapy, which is a combination of this sound, which can be very irritating initially. The spirits don't like that. So if you feel irritation, you're irritating spirits that are close to you or inside of you. It's a combination of this sound plus the Schumann resonance, which is the frequency of the planet Earth's heart, which the human heart is entrained to. The Schumann resonance is changing. It's becoming a higher vibration, the frequency in the human heart. The whole system, we're getting dragged along with it. It's a good thing. It doesn't feel physically really good, or your head can be whatever. You know that from all the websites that talk about the Schumann resonance and how you should feel today because of what the Schumann resonance looks like. That's fine. We put it together. Those two things together. We did a therapy video, and so I watched. I think we're like 300 people. The therapy works. The parasites are translucent, white translucent. They look like little snakes. They look like little roots growing, but white, but inside the heart chakra. Now, we know that our pets, dogs, get worms in their heart, and they tell you to buy Heart Guard or whatever it is. They all have different names at different companies, and it's ivermectin, which is for parasites. Well, for the first time 2 weeks ago, and I think I already said this on this chat, we now have an invasion of parasites in the heart, human beings. So here's my thought. My thought is that very quickly, many people are going to get really sick with heart conditions, which will be due to the invasion of these parasites. But we are not going to be told that. We're going to be told that we need a new vaccine because look what's happening. It's going to be used as an excuse to push something on us. Now, that is my thought. Could there be a psychic hit to that? Perhaps. But I can tell you, throw that away, that piece of information. If you don't deal with these parasites that are invading at a pace that is really scary, we are going to have millions upon millions of people from 1 minute to the next having heart conditions. So the music is free. We're more than pleased to share it with you. And my request is that you share it with other people. Now, a lot of people feel different when they listen to it. They feel better. Some people cried. Many people felt like something came out of them, different parts of the body, because it also takes, it's not going to take care of all of them, but it's also like mini exorcisms. Because those frequencies, those parasites don't like. And the regular spirits don't like this frequency. And they're two different frequencies. So it's a very healing, cost free, efficient mantrista tool. Mantrista is the movement that we kind of set up. We didn't set it up, it happened automatically, and we come up with these new techniques, these new formulas, these new mantras, this new music for music therapy, because the goal of the movement is cheap, 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 cheap. In other words, everybody can afford it. Nobody's left behind because they don't have money. And efficient and easy. Easy. It's got to be easy and it's got to be cheap, which, by the way, is what I asked God for when I was in therapy in the 90s and I was dealing with psychologists that knew less than I knew about the mind. And I would say it, I don't get it. You have a degree. How could you not know this? I'm not sure that they know the definition of the word emotion. With all the repressing that they ask that we do when we go to psychologists, I don't think they know the definition, which means to move out. Anyway, the point of the matter is that I was talking with the group having to do with this and reminding them that on X, there's been several medical doctors that have said that they're not allowed to tell patients when they find worms in them, parasites. It's not allowed. Who made that decision? Parasites, by the way, are spirits. They're just in the shape of snakes or worms or whatever. In Spanish, they usually call them larvae. But the kind that are coming in now are vicious, quick, thoughtful, know what's going on. They're not robotic. It's they're Xenos, Zenos, and it's relatively new, and it's a massive invasion that the dolphins told me to not scare people with. But the only reason they told me not to scare people with is because it's scary. The level of invasion and what they're doing, these particular parasites turn people into a new type of zombie, no intentions, memory gone, vitality gone. You just have an empty shell, which is not the same thing as a regular zombie, because you look at a regular zombie and they have an intention, whether it's to eat you up, they still have an intention. These new zombies don't have intentions. Those were suctioned out by these parasites. What's the problem with that? Do you know why you look both ways before you cross a busy street? Because you intend on not dying. Therefore, you intend on not getting hit by a bus or a car. I mean, that's just baseline. But if you have no intentions, because parasites basically suction your intentions out of you, you're going to step off that curve with no problem because you don't have an intention to live, which means you don't have an intention to avoid getting hit by a truck, a train, or a car. It's really scary. So please, this is free. Use it. Close your eyes when you're using it or when you start and see what sensations you feel in your body, because the body will start to reorganize itself to be able to start pushing out these spirits and parasites. Parasites are spirits, and maybe that's why doctors are not allowed to talk about it, because they're not, you can't talk about spirits. Therefore, I guess you can't talk about parasites. You need to figure that out. But anyway, we went from that to autism. And I was saying that I was so pleased that RFK is dealing with that subject, because that's how I started on TV. And that's how I started on my mission. Was in the 90s. For 2 years, I took care of between 50 and 60 autistic kids. I had two huge file boxes. I threw one of them out, but somebody made me keep the other one. Now I'm glad I kept it, in which I had an extensive file on the kids I took care of. I did pull 5 kids out of autism. Don't send me anybody who's autistic. How do I know I took them out of? They're no, because their doctors said they were no longer autistic. Because if I say it, it has no value. Their medical doctor said that the kids were no longer autistic. One of them said it must have been a misdiagnosis because this kid is not autistic. He was autistic. He took care of them for 2 years as an autistic kid. But all of a sudden in the chat, members of the chat started saying, wow, I can see big eyes looking at me. I can see the TV screen. They were watching the chat on TV. There's all these eyes that are looking. So I went, okay, so what's going on now? And somebody said, why don't you ask the dolphins? So I did. And this is what the dolphins said to me. I'm not even sure I should read this, but let's go ahead. Whatever. Give me a second while I find it. So I said, let me see if I should read this. Okay. April 16, 2025. Why are we being so watched today on Pregúntale a Francis, which was the event I always have Wednesday at 2? And the answer is, from the dolphins, you will be targeted by many groups that want humans to be asleep in this next phase. Too many people are aware of your gifts being used to reveal what's good and not good for humanity. Okay, well, I've kind of been dealing with that. And so I said, well, to the dolphins, which I do written on the computer. So why today? And they said, it's time to step up to bat. You talked about autism and parasites, and that is prohibited. And that's true. That is true. So we are in interesting times. JFK needs to be protected. I am sure that they're already doing things to take him down. Some people are saying he's being blackmailed because of some sex stuff. I am sure he's been set up 1,000 different times. And I think we really need to get over this thing about judging people. The fact that you may have done something bad or have a lack of judgment or been pushed into something, or that should not cancel out good stuff that you bring to the table. But this society is so judgmental, and they blame the whole Christian thing on this. Believe you me, Jesus Christ did not point fingers. We need to get this whole thing with Jesus Christ straight. So I'm going to take a minute here, and I know this will be a turnoff for a lot of people, because there's a big argument about whether the people that work for Trump, whether they should wear a cross. They actually should wear whatever it is that they want. But I have to tell you something. We're into the age of Aquarius, which is superpowers, superhuman beings, super technology. Yeah, a huge augmentation of mental illness. Talk about that later. Why is there an emphasis when you are into the whole Jesus thing? And I have no problem with Jesus. He and I are like this. He was a shaman. He was a very good man. He was willing to sacrifice himself for people. Why are we emphasizing the fact that he died on the cross, which makes him look like a victim? Oh no, but he died for us. When you send your kid into the military to war, you're saying, I'm willing to have my kid die for us. Now, I'm not belittling Jesus Christ at all, and anybody that says that is a blooming idiot. Okay, a blooming idiot. But why on earth, when we're having population collapse, people are not having sex and people are confused about sex, and we're presented with a man that the Catholic Church says never had sex, there's a little bit of a problem. And then the big image we have of this person that we adore, and we should, is him nailed to a cross. Do we have anybody else in history that of course, they can't compare to Christ, and I agree with that. No, that's not an issue. I'm not the problem. Don't make me the problem. I want for somebody to explain to me why that should be the image that we have. We adore this person. Never had sex. Oh, that's a bit of a setback. So I can't really be like him. Okay. And the message that's branded into us, he died on the cross. Don't give me this thing about he died for us. All of the children we send to war died for us. When I do things knowing that there are many people who want me dead, I'm doing the same thing. I'm not trying to compare myself to Jesus. What I'm saying is we need to look and actually think at what we're admiring. And this has nothing to do with Jesus Christ, because you see, The hours on the cross, what was it? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days it took him to die? I don't know. And all the other years that he worked and did great things. Why isn't that what we're emphasizing? What are we what are we teaching the kids? We do really well with old ladies who are kind of glad they're not married anymore because their husbands died and they're not free. But what honestly think about it. What are we telling people? And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be wearing the cross. But maybe in the age of Aquarius, we need to be more thoughtful of what we want to remember about Jesus Christ. The Buddha, when you see him, is on a lotus flower. Lotus flowers flourish even in Everglades, in swamps. They protect. I'm not saying that you should cancel Jesus and go to Buddha. I have more in common with Jesus Christ than I do with Buddha. So I'm not pushing Buddha. I like Buddhism. They have a lot of really good stuff. They're the only people that pray for protection from ETs. I don't know of anybody else that does, so I like that. But this whole thing with the emphasis of this sacrifice and the cross, most of us that are on mission, that includes Elon Musk, Trump, are kind of willing to die for what they're doing. And I'm not saying that they're not as good or they're better than Jesus Christ. I'm saying, why is it that we want to remember? And I think it's a setup. I think that the bad spirits won on that. Okay? So you need to be thoughtful. And I'm not saying tell those women to take those crosses off. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying we need to think about what we're actually doing. We actually need to be thoughtful about things. Like I tell people, just because it's a religious thing doesn't mean you need to lower your IQ or not think. You need to be able to ask questions. In the 90s, when I was in therapy, and I was trying to figure out this evil that I had been trapped with. I wanted to understand the nature of evil. That was my question. That's where I met the Jewish rabbi that told me about the psychiatrist in New York that knew other people that had stories like mine. I hate that word, stories. And I was all over the place. And somebody set me up with a priest, a phone call. I remember it was my girlfriend did it, and it was in her bedroom. She said, "You can take this phone call in my bedroom, so it's private. And no, I can't hear what's going on." I said, "I don't care if you hear it." So I asked him about the nature of evil, and what he said to me is, "You just need to accept it." Well, I already did. I lived it. I was part of it. You just need to accept it. No, you don't. You should be able to ask questions. And I'm asking the question and want you to ask yourself, why is it that the image that somebody wants imprinted on our brain is this fabulous man? Okay? This is like, what do they call it? The jihad, where the people from the East are willing to die and they put a bomb on their back. And I guess they honor those people. It's not working for me. Not working for me. And I think people need to ask that question because I think it's real important to get real clear about what works spiritually. Because spiritual means non physical, which is all the other dimensions, it's all the ETs, it's the spirit of your dead grandmother. It's a lot. I think we need to get really clear. Anyway, I'm going to let that go. Antarctica. I'm not going to ask the dolphins about Antarctica. Or I'll ask them tomorrow and I'll let you know the next time I have a chat because I think I'll be persona non grata even worse if I start talking about things like that apparently it is determined that nobody understand it, but we are going to get hit by something because in the map it says Antarctica boiling over, which means it's not going to stay stuck up there, fights, multi-dimensional fights. So I'm going to ask the dolphins tomorrow and I will get back to you on that. So let's go ahead and do a mantra. And I'm going to put that music on. And I am going to go ahead and give you a heal. Okay, I want for you right now, everybody who is here listening to live and everybody who listens to this later on when it's convenient for them. Right now, I want for you to, from 1 to 10, determine how you feel. 1 is you'd like to slit your wrists or just slide into an early grave. And 10, you feel great. 1 to 10. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the gold dress. Hello. The gold dress is here. How do you see it? Is it bright gold and bright white, or is it blue and brown? Whatever. How do you see it? And now I'm going to put the music on, but then I'm also going to give you a healing. Okay. So just, I see several of you are going like this, like almost like you don't trust me, which makes me suspect that you're spying, that you're not really interested in what I have. So why don't you go ahead and click off? So everybody that's watching this, I'm going to give you a healing. In addition, you're going to be getting a purification of those. That doesn't mean they're all going to leave at all, at all, but you may feel stuff. So just you close your eyes, you breathe. I'm going to put the mantra on. You can repeat the mantra. And at the end, I'm going to ask you again to check how you're feeling. I would like for you to feel how one person, in this case it's me, can shift the way you feel. And what I tell my followers is, don't get jealous that I can do this because they all want to be able to do it. And the reason I can do it is because I saw somebody do it in the 90s when I went to a conference. So what I want for you to see is that there is somebody that can give a healing, even if they don't know your name, they don't know where you're at, they don't know what you have. And you too can have that superpower. And that, I think, is one of the things that maybe I'm understanding now is distressing about Jesus Christ on that cross. What that is saying is he didn't have the ability to take care of himself to stay with us a while longer. Now, I understand because I've thought about it a lot, and I'm sure other people have said it. If he hadn't died on that cross, none of us would remember him. So he would have needed to die on that cross, which, by the way, he asked for Judas to turn him over to the Romans. Was it the Romans? I think it was the Romans. And that's in the Gospel of Judas that was found like 20 years ago. And it is considered to be a legitimate gospel by scientists that studied it. So you can look that up. In that gospel, Jesus asked Judas 3 times to let the Romans know where he was. And Judas said, I'm not going to do that. They're going to kill you. And he said, I need this. Why did he need that? Because if he hadn't died on the cross, we wouldn't remember him. But we don't want to remember him like that because we're into the age of Aquarius, which has to do with superpowers, which is what I'm trying to teach you about. But in order to do that, I have to get your lens to open up, and then you watch me as if I'm different from you. I'm a human being just like you. I got thrown into this when I was really young. I got really thrown into the other dimensions with many things because that's what they were looking for, to throw me into the other dimensions. So maybe the whole thing with Jesus Christ, we should be emphasizing the incredible healings that he gave rather than the fact that he couldn't stop them from nailing him to a cross. I understand why he was nailed to the cross. He needed to leave an imprint, and he left us several messages, which we've been into before. Okay, let's go ahead and start. Okay, so let me put the music on first. Close your eyes. You already decided from 1 to 10 how you feel. I put the music on and I'll write the I chose a purification mantra, even though I'm afraid. I love and accept myself. A lot of people are feeling fear. There's just entirely too much going on at one time. Okay? You repeat it in your head and you expel the breath through your mouth. How do you feel? Pure blood prophet. How do you feel? From 1 to 10. How did you feel before? How do you feel now? The reason to determine a number is to get it to anchor in your mind that you just sat there and you did some sensory therapy with this video, because it's not just the sounds, it's also the images that relax. So that when you feel bad, you can go, oh, that helped me a lot. Let me go and do that again. And the mantra, even though I'm afraid, is relaxing for everybody, because human beings we're very prone to fear, and there's an awful lot of things to be afraid of. So, pure blood, did you feel better? Could you feel stuff? Could all of you feel stuff moving inside of you? Anyway, so I have a couple of messages. Elon, look what I found. This, let's see, you can see it there, was put together by a Colombian scientist that wrote a book on dirty electricity, which is like in an outlet, you plug something in, but in addition to what goes through the cord to your, okay, Cindy, you've been following me for a while. From 1 to 10, what number were you, and what's the number that you ended up with? Um, anyway, dirty electricity is what any place that there's electricity running through something, there's some that escapes, and it's called dirty electricity. Um, and he invented this, which you're supposed to wear, and it can correct or help protect from that. I don't know if it does. I don't even understand this, Elon, but we got to come up with something. So, and then I have a message for Putin, who I don't know why I feel like he's watching this. Putin, I don't know if you know it, but it's possible I have Russian blood. If somebody could find my file and look and see my mother's inheritance, that would be great. So we may have something in common. And Putin, I have to say, I do admire you. The whole thing with this setting up this ministry of sex, it takes guts to say that, but it makes total sense. Anyway, if they don't hire me over here, I'll be more than willing to send you some information so you can get people on track so they can reproduce themselves again. That's an instinct. It's not supposed to go away. And then I have a message and I have no idea how to pronounce his name. And yet, since yesterday, I feel I'm going to meet this man, which is the president of El Salvador. Remember, I did that sketch of El Salvador when I was sketching all the countries in Latin America and what was going on. And I sketched this red splotch. And I said, I don't know, volcanic eruption, whatever. And I sketched these waves, which means an instability in the land and the other dimensions. And it turned out that the splotch that I had sketched was right there next to where the prison is. So I feel, okay, Cindy, you didn't tell me the numbers. Come on, come on, come on. From what number to what number did you go? So I feel that putting all of those men there that have got to repress their violence, which means that what happened after 9/11, everybody repressed their rage at what happened on 9/11, and they went into the compassion and the help. The land absorbed it. 9 days later, there was a new fault line between New York City and London that was caused, I could feel it. I had a panic attack. So Cindy went from number four to 10. That's 60% she improved, and it was 7 minutes. I also gave a healing. I probably shouldn't have done that. I think I was showing off. But you should do the music without me giving a healing and see how much you improve. And then it's 10 hours long for a reason. Anyway, back to El Salvador. You have already apparently a lot of volcanoes in El Salvador. I sketched a congestion that's iffy, and it's right next to the prison. So if you get all that repressed rage from those prisoners, I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong over there. This is not a right or wrong thing. This is understanding the laws of nature, the elements, shamanism. So you got this boiling there already. And then you have thousands of men that are boiling mad. but they can't express it. Like 9/11, Mother Earth absorbs it, and then you have problems, such as the new fault line that I identified on 9/20, and I said there could be an earthquake with the epicenter in New York City 4 to 6 weeks from now. And there was, October 20. And I wrote it on my website. It wasn't that I said it to a friend and then I went, oh, I said that. No, no, no. I put it up on my website on 9/20 that there was a new fault line that had formed. And it wasn't until maybe 10 years later that science says, oh, there's a new fault line under New York City. And there was a thing. So this is important. So anyway, I'm sending out these messages to people that have power and that can make a difference in the world. And it's not a question of getting me hired to do stuff. It's a question of getting this information to people that are at a high enough level in terms of power and reach that the entire planet can get helped. That's the point. Can you imagine if we get into that prison and we teach them the mantra for reducing rage and we put the music, the sensory therapy? You know what? I want to meet this man from El Salvador. I want to meet this man. And for 2 days, I have felt I want to meet him. And I'm going, what am I going to say to him? What am I going to say to him? You got a problem with congestion of fire? Yeah, I know. We got a lot of potential volcanoes. No, I know now why. There's no reason why these people cannot be worked with. And we're not talking psychologists. We have to go and sit with people and they don't even remember what their traumas were from their childhood. They don't remember that their father beat them up or they fell off a chair and they opened up a portal in their head and the devil came in when they were 7 years old and they still don't understand how come they misbehaved. They don't forget that. You can't deal with these people with that or with anybody. It's the long, what was it? Um, the long way to China. What is it called? Slow boat to China. I would like to meet the president of El Salvador, and I would like to get together a program that would help prevent a volcanic eruption or earthquakes in El Salvador in order to be able to show people that there are things that are happening, but there are ways of taking care of them, and it's very simple. It is not difficult, and it is not costly. Other than my feet, I'm just make it light. What can I tell you? Okay, we are finished. We got to work on this, Elon. We got to work on this. And I don't know if it's this, but somebody thought that they had a remedy. And this is one of the big factors in autism. You know, autism is a very, those of us in alternative medicine know that saying that you know how to deal with cancer is like putting a gun to your head. Somebody's going to take you down. No. Autism is the same thing, maybe worse. Okay? Maybe worse. I gave up working with autism after working with 50 or 60 kids because I understood that there was no way that I was going to reach my goal. My goal is to reach millions of people. My goal is not to have a practice and taking care of all these people making a ton of money. My goal is to teach and reach a ton of people so that they can understand that they can be healed very easily and a lot of times cost free. Music therapy, the sensory therapy is free. I pay for it. It's not a ton of money. It's free, which makes it less valuable in this country. We've got to get over that too. I am enjoying those Chinese that are on camera laughing at the United States having to do with expensive designer handbags. And they're saying, you're paying $4 from them to get them from us, and then your stores are charging you $400, $500, $600. Well, there's a lot more expenses than that $4, okay? Because I import stuff from China. But I find it interesting, and that is an example of the fall of hierarchy. It's a total lack of respect for established order. Like, you know what? I'm just a factory worker, but I'm going to tell you something, United States, that wouldn't have happened before. Anyway, Good talking to you. We will see you again. Pure Blood Prophet, this is not a meditation. I don't promote meditations. In India, the real gurus do not let you meditate until after several years of training with them. Why? Because when you meditate, you're going to go into the level and frequency that you're at. And when you start your healing process, you really do not want to meet up with the spirits and the beings that are at your frequency. Because the reason you're doing healings is because you want. So in India, the gurus don't let you meditate. No, 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 no. Why don't you just go ahead and put the music on for her? And then when she complains about the ding thing, just say you'll get used to it, and you do get used to it, which basically means that the spirits that sound, that frequency irritates, they kind of get out of the way. Okay? Oh my God. Bye.